on? The show is about to start. Reese on the radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Yeah! Scallywags! You nutmeggers! Conversationalists, men, women, and I'll never forget you haters. And they're everywhere. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080. I got to say this just because, you know, you folks love Roseanne, and I appreciate it. Nothing makes me love you more than the way that you accept my lovely wife and the way that you have sort of invited her into your home. The ladies who've always stopped and said hello to her, completely bypassing me. You never know if somebody's going to work. You know, you get the rabble knucklehead here and there is like, oh, I can't stand the sound of our voice. But nonetheless, overwhelmingly, you guys have always been great with her. But I got to tell you, there are some things that I have to stop my wife from doing. And it's like the way I defend her, she defends me. And I've always got to, just today, she was literally going to attack someone who she had heard said something, it wasn't even that bad. It was somebody talking about my style, right? And referred to me as a name. And I've heard that before. I've never let that get to me. I don't care what others think about me. We have this saying in AA. Well, at least we don't have this saying. I remember it from somebody in AA named Dallas who said it to me. And he said, what people think about me is none of my business. And I didn't really get that in the beginning, but I learned. After years and years and years, I realized it. I have no control over that. People are going to have their opinion. I only validate it by responding. Pata. Like, so what? I look at what I produce, right? I look at the end of the day, I got to look in the mirror, and I'm happy with me. Can I improve? Always. I'm always looking at ways to improve. But I know what things are real criticism and other things are like to be insulting or dismissive or disparaging. I get that, and I know where that comes from. That's hate, and I await the hate. Now, what I don't like is when those so-called haters smile in my face. Hey, nice to meet you, and then talk trash behind my back. Okay, you don't get a do-over. Right? When I see you in the streets, don't even look my way. And I am going to tell you, I'm going to look you right in the face, and I'm just going to say, yeah, I know what you really think. You made it clear. So let's pretend we don't know each other. Okay? Keep it like that. And you can tell everybody that I said, you know, keep my name out of your mouth. You know? But I know they're still going to talk. But that's fine. That's what they do. That's what they do. But I like them. I like the haters. The haters are the best. Get yourself some more haters. Like Cat Williams said, get yourself some more haters. I need to give a shout out to two gentlemen real quick before I get to my opening monologue. In fact, I'll say three gentlemen I want to give a shout out to. I want to give a shout out to Joe and James. These two gentlemen worked on our car yesterday. We went down to go see them. It's over at the Bristol-Plainville border. And we went to go see these gentlemen, and they said that they were going to have our car fixed in an hour. The job I thought they were doing was going to at least take 2 hours. They were done in less time than that. That's not even the crazy part. We had a little bumper incident on the side of our car. Some guy in Texas, ran into us. They fixed that. I'm not kidding. They even fixed the little dent or the little bend that was in our license plate. Just did it. Just hooked up and said, hey, we did this and we did this, by the way. We hooked up. And I'm sitting up here going, are you crazy? Like, we didn't ask for that. Not that we were angry. We were just like, wow. They didn't have to do it, and they did, and they were great guys. And then, one of our tires is getting, we drove back and forth to Texas a lot, so one of my tires is getting a little worn. They just texted me a minute ago. They said, I'm going to look for a tire for you. They said, we think we could get you this price for 2 tires. We're like, yeah, sure, absolutely. Next thing you know, they call me back. They got the same price for 4. For 4. Joe and James, they are now my mechanics. That is it. Okay? I'm going to ask them if I can start giving their information out because you may inundate them. All of you will run over there to them, and I don't want to swarm them with all of you folks. So I will ask them, and if they're listening, Joe texts me if you're listening. I told him to check out the show in the beginning because I wanted to give him a great shout out. It was very kind of them to do. And I didn't expect it, and I love when people do something that you don't ask. Kevin Megan, you called me and it went straight to voicemail, Bozo, because I'm on the air. Why would you call me on my cell phone? He's my brother. I don't mean that disrespectfully. You can call the hotline number. And, the regular number here at 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. If Kevin Megan wants to show up. He's in Washington a lot. Anyway, but I'll take your call. Now, let me get to my opening monologue. So I sent a text message to Senator Richard Blumenthal this morning. And it was very kind of him to respond. And when I saw his message, I went, great. Thank you. So I know he's listening because I asked him to. And what did I ask him to listen for? Well, for this reason. Senator Richard Blumenthal formally requested a Department of Justice Inspector General investigation into FBI Director Kash Patel. On May 18th of 2026, Senator Blumenthal sent a letter to the Deputy Inspector General William Blyer, demanding a probe into 2 areas. The drinking and availability allegations, specifically citing an April 2026 Atlantic article that claimed Kash Patel's excessive drinking and unexplained absences that made him unreachable at times, interfered with his duties, and raised national security questions, including one alleged incident where the security detail reportedly requested breaching equipment because they couldn't wake him up. Separate claims of manipulating FBI statistics. Allegations reported elsewhere that Patel has inflated arrest numbers and altered the most wanted list to boost his record. Now, I want to address the second first. If indeed that is the case and there is verifiable evidence or if there's a trail that leads to that, with all due respect, Senator, of course, an IG probe is warranted. You should have probable cause before that happens, not just because you want it to happen. But it's the first that I'm going to address mostly. Do not politicize alcoholism, sir. Do not do it to score political points. If indeed Kash Patel has an alcohol problem, regardless of the Atlantic article that, by the way, based upon every measure that we can find out, says, and I quote, there is no credible evidence that Kash Patel currently has a drinking problem. No credible evidence. However, do not make that a public matter. Do not make that a matter to score political points with the Trump administration. As a person who has been sober for 7 years, married to a wife who has been sober 9 years, heavily involved in the AA fellowship, this is not something to be mocked or used to destroy a person's career. This is a disease. you should no more politicize alcoholism than you would cancer. It is recognized as a disease, alcoholism. And I hope you and anyone else who has tried to dehumanize, belittle, berate Kash Patel without one verifiable evidence and based on an Atlantic magazine report to then use it to politicize him, to humiliate him. If indeed Kash Patel were or is an alcoholic, what this would be is not helpful. People do not seek help when they are publicly humiliated about this disease. They end up dead. Please understand the fire you are playing with here. Now, we call it Alcoholics Anonymous because they say do not promote. They don't want the whole TV and radio and all that other stuff. They don't. But there today are more podcasts and conversations publicly about this disease than ever before. You want to know why? Because people are dying. A lot of people are dying. We see it far too often. Those of us who are in the rooms. I just say to you, sir, with all due respect, you and I have our issues, and we fight them out. And we appreciate you coming on the show. We appreciate you responding to my text message. Got to meet your son, although people don't like the fact that I said anything nice about him. He was a nice young man. Again, disagree with him wholeheartedly, but he was a nice young man to me. I can fight him politically all day, but I don't have to be disrespectful to him because he wasn't disrespectful to me. He gave me no reason to, and neither have you. So I'm telling you this, not as a person, as an adversary, not as a person who thinks that you are ill intent. I just don't think you understand this disease. And in a lot of ways, in wishing to admonish members of the cabinet or members of the circle of the Trump administration, using alcoholism is a step too far in the wrong direction. If you believe, if anybody in Washington believes that Kash Patel has a drinking problem, that is something that you do with a private intervention. This is something that you console him, get someone else who is in the rooms to have a discussion with him. But you do not humiliate somebody with this disease. That is not, you wouldn't do it with somebody who had another disease. You wouldn't do it. Nobody would. And I read that article this morning and I said to myself, I got to speak up. I have to speak up. Regardless of what I think about Kash Patel, regardless of what I think about the Trump administration, regardless of what I think about Democrats here. And Senator Blumenthal, what you and I both know, which is not conjecture, I am not hallucinating about this. There's a hell of a lot of drinking problems going on in Washington, sir, and in that very chamber, in those very chambers that you dwell. You know it, I know it. I lived outside of D.C. I did the beat in D.C. I've seen the hand trucks of aged liquor coming into those buildings often. The replenishing of said alcohol going into those buildings. Members of Congress and the Senate showing up on the floor inebriated during votes. Having conversations with members of Congress reeking of alcohol. I experienced that myself. It also happens here, right in the very state of Connecticut. You know it, and I know it. So we know that that's happening. You know that that's happening. And using this, again, unverified report from what can only be described as a rag piece of junk called the Atlantic, and then publicly trying to humiliate the Trump administration and, far worse, Kash Patel. And politically and publicly humiliate him as being an alcoholic without evidence is shameful. Now, I know you've had your troubles and issues in the press in the past. And I want you to see yourself as a decent human being, because I know that you see yourself that way. So I want you to appear that way with the rest of us. If you want to probe about inflated numbers and crimes, please do that. But rescind any public humiliation about someone's alleged alcoholism. This is not a road you want to go down. And I understand the necessity to insult him. I understand your frustration with this administration. And when I say I understand it, technically because they're beating the pants off you guys. But truth be told, this is low. And there are plenty of people who are in Alcoholics Anonymous, people who don't feel like they're getting the best treatment inside those rooms, people who are itching to take a drink again. They do not need this public display, especially in the halls of Congress. So, again, with respect, please rethink making a public issue out of someone's disease. All right? That's as far as I'm going to go on this one. I believe that you're going to be a better guy about this. I really do. My heart of hearts, I know what you mean. And then we can get back to warring over DQuat and everything else. All right? But this one, I ask respectfully, just everybody in Washington, get it right. Trust me, there are far more people inside those halls who have a drinking problem you can all consider. And I'm not going to say any names because that would be disrespectful. I'm not going to go down that road. But when I tell you I've seen it, I smelt it, I've been around it, oh, trust me, I have. And when I got sober, I didn't become some zealot and start screaming, look at all those alcoholics. Never did it. The first thing I try to do with somebody with a problem is help them. And I like living by an example where people come to me and ask me for help. How did you do it? Where can I go? That's the role you should be playing, not this one. So I hope this helps. And I hope that you'll rethink this. We'll take a break. We'll come back, and I'll read some comments here. It looks like we got a lot of people commenting on this one. We'll read them all when we return. It's Reese on the Radio.
Fan of WTIC? Then do us a favor. Download the free Odyssey app and favorite WTIC.
All right, so it looks like there's a lot of commentary on the opening monologue talking about alcoholism. Which, again, I don't want to get into the whole discussion about who's an alcoholic, who isn't an alcoholic for that matter. But I just want to talk about, and what I'm talking about here in general is when you're dealing with alcoholism, you don't deal with it publicly in a fashion in which it's being made. And politically, it's ridiculous to do so. And I don't know if anyone knows that. Like, if you're not an alcoholic, if you don't have a drinking problem, you're not going to know that. And if you are blindsided or have blinders on the subject, in the sense of this is a way that I can ridicule Kash Patel because I don't like what he's doing, and use this as a form of public humiliation, which, again, I'm speculating here because I think that's what's happening. You wouldn't do it this way if it wasn't meant to publicly humiliate someone. This is just not the thing that you would do. It's not the kind of thing, and I know that there are people out there who don't recognize it as a disease, but it is. I want to start here with Dan. Dan says, Reese, come on. All you need to see to know Patel is an alcoholic is the footage of him pounding multiple beers at the NHL locker room. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and no one, when I see one, and he's one. Okay. Dan, I'll be honest with you. I am not the alcohol whisperer. I'm not. I can smell alcohol on someone and would never assume that person is an alcoholic because they drink alcohol and because I can smell it on them. I just wouldn't. I don't even know if that, to be honest with you, I don't even know if that's appropriate for me to do it. I'm sure it might be, but I've never been that person. I've had an employee who will remain nameless. And I know he has a drinking problem. I know that he lives and breathes drinking beer. That's him. He sees every day as an opportunity to drink. His ex-girlfriend suffered and died from this disease. A woman, I didn't know her very well, but I knew her pretty well. And she died on the floor of a laundromat. It was the most devastating thing I've ever had to recognize. And I knew her mother before she died and did not realize it was her mother until after she died, and I had been to meetings with her mother, who was one of us. So this young lady, I knew when I met her. She was one because I saw her drinking habits, and I knew that she was reliant on alcohol. That's a different thing. I don't know if I could diagnose Kash Patel by the NHL footage, pounding down beers. He's a younger guy. And you know this, Dan, as I do. We have people who we call normies. And these are people who go out, binge, drink up, and then not think about it for a while. And don't get me wrong. What's also true, and Dan will attest to this, there are a lot of people who have the addiction who, one, would never admit it, and two, would never ever, don't think they have a problem, so to speak. A line that I used to do back in the day, I'm a functioning alcoholic. I can get the job done. I can come in, even hungover, I can still knock it out the park. I laugh at myself today when I think of the times when I said that. But I don't know if we can actually go out and just point to someone and see a behavior. And I mean, again, a singular behavior and just say, oh, I recognize it, that's it. I don't know. I just don't. And now that it's on TV. Let me see. Good job. I like you because you don't judge others. Thank you, Liz. I'm trying not to. Chuck is definitely an undercover attorney. I don't know. Well, maybe. Oh, that was an earlier comment. I'll go back to that. Reggae Don says, Reese, you're spinning for cash. Okay, Reggae Don. I love this conversation. So I'll give you an opportunity to answer this as I read other questions. How are you the authority here? How are you the authority that I'm spinning for him? Because I never once said that he wasn't an alcoholic. If you were listening, which you may have come in late, and I'll reiterate, because I know how radio works. People come in 15-minute intervals, 5-minute intervals. I get it. You may have missed my opening monologue. So let me state it again so you hear me, okay? According to the report in the Atlantic, there's no credible evidence that Kash Patel currently has a drinking problem. No credible evidence. And my monologue was strictly at the idea that even if he is, it is not something for public display or ridicule. That you may have missed. What I am saying is that if indeed Kash Patel has a disease, because that's what this is not to be put out on a public square and used for humiliation of the Trump administration, anyone a part of it. You wouldn't disrespect someone with alcoholism the same way you wouldn't if they had breast cancer. You wouldn't do it. And they are the same. You may not see that as the same, but the American Medical Association does. So that's the point that I'm making here. I'm not sure if this is a game show. Oh, spinning for cash. No, it's not. I don't buy that what the person just said about drinking. Lots of beers makes Kash an alcoholic. I've gone over a year without a drink, and I can have just a drink, not two, or perhaps quit a bit under the right circumstances, although it has been years. All right, Stevie V, if I'm hearing that correctly, you're saying that you can go without a drink and then you can drink a whole lot, like hanging out and partying at the same time. You can, again, what we call normies. That's what we call the normies. You know, somebody who can sit at a dinner and everybody's got a glass of wine. And during dinner, somebody will have a sip and leave a half a glass of wine sitting there for the rest of the conversation and never touch it. And then tell the waiter, can I have a seltzer water, please? Yes, absolutely. And they'll just leave the wine sitting there. And to alcoholics, trust me, there are plenty of them who know. They will look at that glass of wine and just go, you're not going to drink that glass of wine? It's like, oh, I don't. I drink a little bit, with the West because I just love the taste. And the rest of them look at me like, what are you, crazy? That's waste. That's alcohol abuse. Those people are what we call normies. So, again, I don't know whether or not Cash Patel is, unlike Dan here, who says that he can tell. And I'm not crapping on Dan saying that, his, ability, so to speak, isn't warranted. Maybe he does know better than I do. I can't say that. So, I mean, and I'll read what he said. He was like, you can't tell me. I was like, no, I can tell you. I don't know. I don't. And that, again, could be my own naivete. But Dan, please, if we could, to the subject matter, if you can, I would love for you to opine on that level. Is it something that should be scrutinized in a public way in which, the way in which Senator Blumenthal is doing it is my question. Right? Again, I can't make any case for Cash Patel or not. That's the point I'm making here. Basically, Stevie's saying I'm hardly drink. Reggae Don says the man will never get the help he needs if people keep giving him a pass. No. See, this is my point, Reggae Don. Listen, okay? It's not about, first of all, nobody should enable anyone. You're absolutely right on that point. But he will never get help if you publicly humiliate him. Do you understand that? It's a disease. And I'm serious about that. You're talking about if somebody wants to give him help, do you believe publicly admonishing him is helpful? Or is this shaming him? Because I don't know. Have you ever seen a drug addict? Have you ever dealt with a drug addict? Humility or humiliation usually leads to isolation. Isolation leads to drug use and an abundance of it. And the hiding and the abundance leads to death. It does. There are too many stories like that. And again, I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you've been in the rooms or you've spoken to these folks, if you've been in Al-Anon or anything like that. We all know what this leads to. Right? So again, in your deep-seated need to humiliate Cash Patel because you don't like him because he's a member of the Trump administration, you're missing the important part. You can hate the guy, but do you want him dead? Because that's what the affliction will do to him. And that's the point I'm making. I say this in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous often enough, and I tell everybody this. The best room to be in is in one of those rooms, because even if that person thinks you are a complete scumbag, the worst person who ever lived, the one thing they don't want for you is for you to have another drink. That you can depend on, and that's why people go. We'll take a break. We'll come back, and I'll read more of these comments when we return. It's Reese on the Radio.
It's Reese on the Radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
Yeah, Lori said something. She said, sadly, the death of Patel would make Richard Blumenthal happy. Zap had two great comments. He says, Reggae Don, this was to you, Reggae Don. He says, how do we know he even needs help? And he also writes, he goes, this is unfair to label him without seeing him every day. Pounding a few at a hockey game doesn't mean you're an alcoholic. It means you're a hockey fan, and are celebrating a hockey win. Right. Again, I don't know what, maybe Dan may have to explain what I'm missing in that behavior, because I watched the video and I wasn't looking for what would we considered or what would be the testimony to an alcoholic situation, if that means anything. See, I recognize that people can drink beer. I got to tell my friends all the time when I'm out They were like, do you mind if we drink? And I'm like, no, I'm good. Yeah, good. Like, I'm not that kind of alcoholic that when you're drinking, I'm serious, like, I'm smacking my lips open. Can I just taste it? Can I taste it? And I'm like, I'm not that guy. I am. People don't know this, but, you know, you can recover. And if I may be so bold, I have absolutely no interest in alcohol anymore. I don't. Not in the least. Like somebody asked me the other day, it's like, there's Heineken Zero. I'm going, no, I have no desire. I don't even want to taste it. Not interested. I'm past it. Let me get to Mark in West Hartford. What's up, Mark? How are you? Oh, wait. I didn't turn you on. Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, so we both agree, and I don't know about your audience. Some of them obviously probably don't. That mental illness is a disease, right?
Correct.
And so is drug and alcohol.
Correct.
Addiction, a disease. But think about how society and especially the media treat them both differently, even though we agree they're both a disease.
Right.
So, for instance, Robin Williams and Anthony Bourdain, they commit suicide.
Right.
Think about the tone of the delivery of our media, local, national.
Yeah.
And what do? They have to provide us numbers of how to get help, suicide prevention,
Correct.
all that. Now spin it into when somebody's caught drinking locally. Representative Robin Comey. We couldn't show that overturned car enough.
Right.
Where was the talk of like, hey, there shouldn't be drinking allowed at the top of the roof that everybody knew about? Even the 30 cops that are assigned as Connecticut Capitol Police knew about the drinking.
Right.
Let's now like we have suicide prevention.
Right.
Why wouldn't we want to prevent?
It's
look at how society attacks.
Hold on, you're 100% right. Is because the suicide at the end of a suicide story is if you know someone who maybe wish to harm themselves, call this number. But at the end of an alcohol story, they don't do the same thing. And you're right. That's exactly what should be. If you have a problem with drinking or alcohol, you should. When we used to do gambling ads here for for DraftKings or whatever those, we always had a disclaimer afterwards. If you know a person with gambling problems. But alcohol in this way is sort of, you hear the story and it's used to demean the individual who is doing it. Because I guess you're at your worst. Of course, you couldn't be at a worse bottom when you were caught doing this. Is a car accident. God forbid if somebody loses a life. But there is no prevention. Yeah, exactly.
It's the worst. And I just wish that we would change, again, to just say it's apples to apples.
Yeah.
Why would somebody want to make it apples to orange? They're both diseases. Why are we shaming people? We want consequences.
Right.
Of course, when they're deemed necessary, of course, there should be consequences.
Indeed.
But in this case, it's a missed, what do I always use, right? Missed opportunity.
Yep.
To me,
exactly.
It's a missed opportunity. We're not talking about the thing we should be talking about.
And it's so wild, you know what? I will go so far as to say this, because I know there's no real causation here, but I would say this. Part of the reason why we keep seeing these, inebriated, wrong way driving accidents is because we're not doing the preventative thing you're talking about. Where at the end of that story, if you know someone with a drinking problem, call this number.
Yeah, never. You don't see it.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Reese.
You got it, boss.
Being able to have that opportunity.
No, my pleasure.
An opportunity. Thank you.
You got it. So you are truly recovered. God bless you. It's a different outcome. Like any addiction, alcohol, drug, food, and Trump hate. Thank you, Lori. That's actually good. Doug says, I have never met Cash and have not spent time with him. And unless you have nothing to stand up to make that judgment. Someone who doesn't know you can make a judgment about you or a video of a time in your life. Does either have any real validation? Be honest. Doug is asking to Reggae Don and sorry, I'm forgetting your name. Forgive me. I want to make sure I go by Dan, sorry, as well. And that's the only point that I'm making in all of this is that we're dealing with somebody who may indeed have an addiction. Again, nothing verifiable. This is just based upon an Atlantic story. But if they do, you never want to deal with it in a way that humiliates the individual. They only go further down this rabbit hole, again, of isolation. They begin to hide the drinking. That is the stuff that leads to further turmoil and hurting themselves. We don't want that, not when we're dealing with a disease. So we have to be very careful if we care about someone with a disease. If you don't, you just want to humiliate them, just say that. And I'm cool with that, but you're definitely not here to help. And I want to believe that people want to help him. So do that. That's a far better call. A call to action, much better call to action, is to help him, not humiliate. All right, with that, we'll move on. When we come back, I told you, Lamont's going far left. He released a statement about Eversource. You don't want to miss it. Let's get to the top of the hour news with John Still. Oh, Dave Mager is in for, I'm sorry, Dave Mager's in for John.
Reese on the radio, making sense of the news. Yeah, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC, News Talk 1080.
All right, we're back, folks. And as you know, WTIC every year has canines for Connecticut Vets, which is a program brought to you by the Forever in My Heart Foundation, where we get a service dog connected with a Connecticut vet who is suffering from things like PTSD and several other things. And this connection has gone on again for years, and we are trying to get you to donate to this cause to the tune of $25,000. So if you'd like to help out, please go to WTIC.com/vets. That is WTIC.com/vets. We do it every year. And we have another guest from Forever in My Heart Foundation, Mickey Ulizio, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Mickey?
That's perfect.
Oh, thank you. So Mickey is the Director of Client Services at the Forever in My Heart Foundation. You've been there now for 2 years?
Well, I've really been there for like 6 years.
6 years. Oh, okay. But you've been in this role for 2 years.
Correct.
Oh, okay. All right. They say, every time they get the bio, that's why I always ask the questions, because I never trust the bio. So it said you had been involved for 2 years. So I always ask because I love asking myself anyway. So you've been involved all and on for 6 years. Did you start as like a volunteer? You found out about it and then figured this was such a great cause you wanted to be a part of it in a volunteer capacity, or how did you join?
I did. I went to a program where the director had presented a veteran with a dog, and they discussed what the difference it made. And I thought I really want to get involved with that. My father was a combat correspondent in World War II, was missing in action, and all my uncles were military. And I just retired after 30 years in the VA healthcare system. So the ability to help veterans, that's really something that I wanted to do. And I found out that this organization truly is dedicated to that.
Yeah, it's amazing because my wife, who is a disabled veteran, also comes from a family of veterans. I, on the other hand, I'm coming from a family of veterans as well. I come from a military family. I did not serve, but I always noticed that those who have family members who have served always want to be in service of veterans because they have a unique understanding being a part of that family.
That's true. Very true.
Yeah. So you start, I know you've everything from a nurse manager to a school nurse, case manager, legal nurse consultant. But I'm assuming, if I'm right here, although you had this sort of relationship with veterans because of your family and all of your uncles, what brought the pet aspect? Was it seeing the vet with the service dog? Was that sort of the interest?
Right. I when she presented the program, I talked to the woman who had to be a vet, who had gotten a dog, and she talked about the before and how her behavior was before the dog. And then she went through training, and then the remarkable change that this dog had given her, the confidence, going back to teaching at the university, going out. And I thought, if having a dog by your side can make that kind of a difference, I really want to be part of that. And I always have had dogs. So I thought that would be a really good economical way and efficient to help veterans. So that's how I got involved.
We're on with Mickey Ulizio, who is the Director of Client Services. I got to ask you this because I know I am. Every time I talk to you folks, I'm more and more fascinated. But even though you've been around for 6 years, you've been in this capacity for 2 years, are you just as amazed at the training and the abilities of these pets every time? It's like the things that they are taught how to do and how they execute them. Do you find yourself amazed every time? You never get bored?
No, never get bored. And I'm always learning something from the trainers. I'm learning something from the veterans. I'm learning a lot of patience, a lot of consistency, how they gain self-confidence. So I give some, but I get back an awful lot. We just had a veteran last night who, when I went up to training, yelled down, Mickey, you'll never guess what I did. and I said, what was it? He said, I went grocery shopping by myself and my dog for the first time in 15 years.
Wow.
Now, somebody says that and you think, and he was so pleased with himself. You know, he had accomplished such a great thing. I thought it's moments like that you think, yeah, it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, and it's, the crazy, as you just expressed that, you can imagine at first someone says something that you just literally invoked that in me. I hate it when my wife sends me grocery shopping. She's got to send me pictures of the actual item and even the ounce of the item, right? So if she wants 15 ounces of something, she's got to send me an online picture of the thing and the ounce amount when I go. And I think it's the most mundane thing in the world to have to do is go shopping. If I go shopping with her, I'm the boredest I could ever be. And you just told me that story about somebody who couldn't go grocery shopping for 15 years. And I go, I get to do that without any issue. Why am I complaining? There's somebody out there who can't do it.
Well, I reminded him that I said, get back to me in 6 months when you're always doing the shopping. See if you're still that enthusiastic about going shopping. But when a simple thing like that you can't do because of the loudspeaker or the noise or the amount of people or closeness of people, and you can't do it, your ego is crushed when you say, I can't do the simplest thing. And then you accomplish it and you say, look what I did. I did it. I accomplished it. Now I'll move on to other things that I can do. It's a great sense of accomplishment, and it's what we owe the veterans, we owe them to get them back into the daily living.
Yeah. So as the person who is the director of client services, what is your capacity there? Are you finding veterans? Do the veterans come to you? Like how does that work out?
Usually they will go on our website or they'll Google something and see. And unfortunately, there's a number of organizations out there that say that they train service dogs. And it's very confusing to the average person because some of them say, if you have any dog, bring it in and we'll train it in like a week. Well, We know that's not a service dog.
No.
But initially I speak to them. We have a number of people who already have dogs that want them trained, and we don't do that. We have our own dogs that we begin right from usually when they're 4 months old.
Right.
But we talk to them about, do you really need a service dog? I ask them to identify, what do you think a service dog can do for you? What do you need done that you think a service dog? Some of them really want therapy dogs or they want emotional support dogs. So I try to channel them into the different places. And then the ones who indeed seem to need service dogs.
Right.
Then the next step is they come in, they're interviewed by a panel of 4 people.
Is there a criteria here? And I hate to put it in such a crude term, but when I say a criteria, you were talking about the gentleman who hadn't gone shopping in 15 years. Are we talking about like intense levels of PTSD? Because you mentioned that thing about somebody who's looking for an emotional support animal would be far different than someone in the capacity that you guys served. I mean, these are people like we talked to Justin. I talk about him because he's the last person we spoke to here, but he has such a fascinating story. I can't help but bring him back up.
He's marvelous.
Yeah, talking about his night terrors and how Astor helps him and knows beforehand. So that kind of extreme level of PTSD, is that sort of the criteria you're looking at, and that's what the 4-person panel is for?
Yes, we're looking to see, do they have some behavior that they have that we can train a dog to overcome or to help them deal with. So PTSD at night when they flail, when their arms go out and their wives can't or their husbands can't sleep with them because they're fighting a war in bed. Nobody gets any sleep, or they can't go to the store, or as Justin probably told you, he would go to a restaurant with his wife, and halfway through the meal, and they oftentimes cannot identify what it is that throws them over the edge.
Yeah, it could be anything. You know, it's so wild about this, and I forgot it. When we first got to, I want to say it was before we got to Connecticut. I think it was just before we had moved here. My wife and I had gone to some place in a town. It was a small little restaurant, and we were having a great time laughing and joking. And some young man inadvertently knocked over a chair, but it made it was a heavy wooden chair, but it made a big banging sound, and it sounded like a gunshot when it went off. Well, my wife almost jumped out of her seat, and there was no touching her. I couldn't even get near her. And she just let me work through it. I didn't realize how severe it was until that happened. And that's exactly what Justin was describing. It's sort of like those moments make it difficult for you to go anywhere because you never know what's going to set you off. And neither did my wife. I would have never imagined that just the dropping of a chair would have done that. That's
correct. And the thing about it is, when they go anyplace, the slightest thing or nothing, somebody bumping them, loudspeakers, and if they go to Stop and Shop and they say announcing, could so and so come, that. But we teach them when they go to war, be hyper alert or you won't stay alive. Yeah, you have to be hyper alert. Then they come back, and we often say World War II, they came back on a boat, so they had a week coming back. They had a week to sort of work themselves down, and then they came home. When our women and men now go, they fly home, and in a couple of hours they go from war zone to home. Yeah. They have no and so they're still hyper alert because that's what kept them alive. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we say, no, relax, that's not a sound, you don't have to. Now, last night at the board meeting, I inadvertently pull a pin out of my alarm thing that I carry with me. And it was interesting to see the different people and how they reacted to it. Two of the veterans jumped up and right away could calm themselves, but the rest of us all went, oh, yeah, that's a loud noise. We just shut it off. but those two people, they were now, that's how you stay alive. They would have, if they had been anyplace else, grabbed their rifle and protect themselves. Yeah. Wow. It is, I'm sorry, go ahead. No, it makes, when you see the difference that it can make, not only in their behavior, but in their self-esteem and their ego. Yeah. They accomplish it. They do it. The dog helps them, but they do it. And I say to them, good for you. You really accomplished this. And is that a lot to ask out of life, is to have a dog? No, absolutely not. And that's why people should give to this as they do every year. Again, I tell you guys are doing God's work. It's amazing what you do. Who would have ever thought? Again, I'd never heard of anything like this until I joined this radio station, and I'm glad that we do it every year because, one, I get to talk to not just great people who are a part of this, who have decided to be a part of this, but what you actually do and the stories that you guys tell every year with the new vet and the new dog are nothing short of miraculous, and it should be celebrated and it should be supported. So I thank you so much for calling in today and telling us more about it. Anything else? Anything I missed? I always ask because I'm always so curious. I get caught up in my own questions and not in what you guys want to talk about. No, but we do want to thank you because your listeners have contributed and have helped several people get dogs that really could not afford it. Yeah. So we are most grateful that you do this. And to your listeners, if you'd like to come and see what we do, just call us and we'll give you a date. You can come and see our training and see our pups. And, we're more than glad to show you our training. Mickey, let me ask you this. Let me look real quick because I'm going to check something real quick. Let me see if I can. I want to look at my calendar. Is there a likelihood that we can come by Saturday? We don't do a lot of training on nothing Saturday, on the weekend. Okay. But no, usually just on Wednesday. But we could arrange to have something. Let me think. This Saturday. I have graduation, and I think one of the trainers. You know what? And anything is possible.
You know what? Here what we'll do.
That.
I'll get right. We have your contact. I want to come down because you know what? I want to be able to go down there, see it firsthand so I can talk about it on the air. We're going to be doing this for 2 weeks. So I think it's only best that I actually go down there and see the operation and talk to the people who are there, maybe even talk to some of the veterans.
Oh, yeah, do come. We'd love to have you, and the veterans would love to talk to you and show off their dog.
Absolutely. Let's see if we can get that done. Mickey Ulizio, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right, folks, make sure that you help them out. The Forever in My Heart Foundation, it is a great organization. Go to foreverinmyheartfoundation.org, and you can contribute there by going to WTIC.com/vets. That's WTIC.com/vets to make a donation. Help them raise the $25,000 this year so they can get Tucker, the new dog, with a very deserving vet this year. So you guys have always come through, so please come through again. Let me grab this call real quick. James is in Newington. Hello, James. You're on with Reese on the radio.
Hey, Reese. Let me throw one of my little triangles at you that I want to bring up. And number one is Lamont, as a governor, just the other day, did one of his things about how Republicans learn hate. They preach hate. Donald Trump preaches hate. And that was the one side of the triangle.
Okay.
We hear about that here in the local news. But what we didn't hear about is the other side of the triangle, which is that the Southern Poverty Law Center, a complete scam of racism that has been for 25 years running out of actual racist things to do and raises $140 million in their little kitty and is basically was paying the Ku Klux Klan to stay in business. And that they paid $1 million to the guy who claims to be the head of the Ku Klux Klan.
Right.
Do you mind if it's okay if that guy doesn't want the job? I'll take it. Only for 1/2 of the year, and then I will, go back to confession at my Catholic church and apologize. I won't actually have any of the thoughts or do anything, and I won't plan a rally with people that I'm hiring to walk around with flags that are printed at Kinko's that indicate we're racist, unless you want in on the scam.
No,
if you got some cousins.
I'm pretty sure I could come up with a few. What's the third side of that triangle?
Well, the third side, so here's the point. Connecticut never publishes that all of this fake racism, this was all a genesis of the idea that there were real Confederates running around, and that rally was organized by the Southern law firm, which by the Southern Poverty Center. Their board of directors, I believe, has 5 black Americans, a Hispanic woman who's running it, making $500,000 a year, of course, token gay guy in the corner, and then 2 angry white women. So what I'm saying is they're all making $200,000 to $500,000 by preying upon and raising money from corporations for racism that doesn't exist, that we can't find. They have to actually pay for it. So the last piece of the puzzle is the Washington, D.C. settlement that Trump just did with the IRS for the $1.8 billion for the people who were traumatized and by the Biden administration going after them for all kinds of fake charges. Now, I'm not sure about that amount, but I am sure about this. The United States had almost 1,000 people in prison in Washington, D.C., with the Democrat attorney of that city unwilling to give them habeas corpus, unwilling to give them actual charges, unwilling to let them actually see attorneys, held in a prison situation and solitary confinement for almost 2 years. They deserve, at a minimum, $250,000 per person. And I don't want to say about the other thing, but we forget the triangle. It all started with fake racism.
That's right.
And the fake racism then generated all this publicity in the liberal press. They were even, the Southern Poverty Law Center was even paying guys from the Proud Boys, which was actually organized by the FBI, by the way, because half the people in the Proud Boys leadership were FBI informants.
So
that's my triangle.
Nope. Listen to me. Every part of that was brilliant, and you did it in time. I appreciate you, James. Great stuff. We are going to talk about that because I have so much more to grab on that subject matter. James, good call. No due process. That's right. In a speedy trial. Those guys were sitting in there for 3 years. And I love what Tim Pool, was it Tim Pool who said it on his show? He had said something along the lines where it's like a lot of those people were in jail for fighting with police. or attacking police officers. You couldn't get a BLM protester to be in jail for more than 6 months on the same charge, but yet they kept these people in there for the same thing for over 3 years. And again, no due process at all, which is, again, something that everybody kept claiming that we needed to have for illegals, I might add. We'll get to that in a second. Stand by. When we return, I want to talk about Ned Lamont, who has proven me right, and it only took him 48 hours, which, again, a little longer than I expected. But we'll talk about that when we return. Stand by. It's Reese on the radio.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Hey, he's your friendly neighborhood Reese on the radio. Right now on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
I want to tell every one of you listeners, every day you say something, it makes me know that I love you and that you love me. Jeffrey, thank you so much for that. And Jeffrey says, more commercials, please. That's how I get paid, man. That's how I get paid. Although I would do this for free, my wife will not let me. So I get where you're coming. I know it means everything to me. And I want to thank everybody else that's checking out the program. We were talking about alcoholism earlier and talking about how it shouldn't be politicized as it relates to Senator Richard Blumenthal wanting a probe, an IG probe into Kash Patel. And I thought it was being politicized. If indeed he is an alcoholic or not, regardless, alcoholism should not be politicized. So I wanted to make that claim to him. And he promised me that he would be listening when I said it. So I'm hoping he takes that into consideration. Fred said something interesting about that. He said, keep alcoholism private. Let those who deal with it because between themselves and God. Bloomy, no one is publicly blaming you for, your little thing with Vietnam, and totally understood. What's this? Blah, 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 blah. The Atlantic, Lori says, has faced accusations of publishing misleading information, which we know. Ricky says, I'm a recovering alcoholic for over 10 years and a recovering compulsive gambler for almost 14 months. He's been sober. So congratulations to you, sir. Let me give you what we call the applause here. And congratulations, and one day at a time, my friend. Lori also writes, how about Ted Kennedy leaving Mary Jo Kopechne left to die in a sinking car as he ran for president? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, still, yeah, well, he did maintain his career while he was in the Senate. What's up, Roland?
Hello.
Hi, what's up?
Saying hi.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you know what? I meant.
Go ahead.
No, you had something you wanted to tell me yesterday, and I completely forgot about it. But what did you want to opine?
Actually, that was on Monday.
It was on Monday? Goodness gracious. Yeah. It's Thursday. What is the day? Thursday?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. I haven't said anything to you about it yet? Talk about being. No, well, we had a situation.
It couldn't. Like, sometimes I'll have a subject to talk about, but depending on how your show goes.
Right.
You kind of can't squeeze it in.
Right, because it'll take it off kilter.
Yeah. So you got to okay.
Totally.
Well, I'll wait till an opportunity presents itself.
Okay.
If it does.
Did you want to opine on this subject?
Oh, no. Oh, no. I was just going to say, give you some kudos.
Whoa.
Because on this past weekend, I was helping my mom move, and she lives in Rhode Island.
Okay. Wow.
And they're downsizing, so they sold a big house, made a lot of money, and they downsized to a little townhouse. So I was helping her move, and my uncle was there, and he walks over to me. He just turned 74.
Oh wow. Okay.
So first of all, I was wondering, like, why are you helping? Because I don't want you to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And but then I realized he's one of them 74-year-olds. He's always out working.
Yeah, active guy.
Very active and doing stuff. So, and my cousin, his son, we were just talking, and then he comes over and he says, "That Reese guy sure knows how to stir the pot."
Really?
Now I haven't talked to my uncle in months. Probably
really?
Thanksgiving, I think. Since Thanksgiving. Had no idea that this dude listens to the show.
Really?
No, he never told me. No one has ever told me that
they listen.
So, and he just walks up to me and said, "That guy Reese really loves to stir the pot," and he started laughing. He said, "I love listening to him." I said, "Hold up, you listen to Reese on the radio?" He's like, yeah, and he's like, I'm proud of you. I hear you comment and say things sometime, and I just want to tell you I was proud of you for that.
Aww.
I was like, wow. So you just really never know who's listening. Shout out to my Uncle Roger.
Oh, okay. You know what? Round of applause to Uncle Roger. You want to hear something crazy?
Yeah.
My uncle's name is Roger.
Is it?
Yeah, man. My Uncle Roger. My Uncle Roger, who ironically also suffers from this disease before he passed away, or suffered from this disease before he passed away. Yeah. And so, yeah, isn't that wild? And I'm not gonna think, because my mother's 76 now, and he is a younger brother. Weird. Anyway, so
you look like.
I know. You say it all the time.
I already showed your wife the picture. She could not believe how much you look like my other uncle.
Really? I haven't seen that picture.
Yeah, you have. I showed it to you before.
You did?
Like when you first got here, I was like, you kind of look like my Uncle Kenneth. And I showed it to
Roseanne?
Yeah, I showed it to Roseanne, and she just couldn't believe it. She was like, no way. And they were twins, Uncle Kenneth and Leonard. And my grandfather had 12 kids with my grandmother and 5 kids with his mistress.
Ooh. We can very well be related.
We can very well be related.
You know what? You're gonna have
I'm gonna send you the picture.
Yeah, send me the picture so I can look at it.
You could post it and have people say,
yeah, let's do that.
Whether or not you look exactly like my uncle, who's a twin. He passed away. He was living up here. He passed away, but his twin still lives in New Orleans. So.
Yeah, we definitely have to see that. Definitely have to see that. I do not look like. So Adam 12 just sent me a picture of Roger from What's Happening. Not the same Roger.
Yeah. Just a hat.
Absolutely. Pride well placed, Joey V says. Thank you, Joey. Thank you. That is interesting. Well, please, Uncle Roger, we totally appreciate you listening to the show. And if you're listening now, good on you. He's got good taste, of course. So anyway, I just wanted to get into that. But I'm going to push the Lamont thing when it comes to Eversource back a little bit, because you heard from Dave Mager that now is the big story. Everyone's talking about this 11% increase that's going on, and how it's going to affect your bills. But if you were to read Lamont's statement on this, you would think it was written by Josh Elliott. It is amazing. I want to show this picture online. For those of you who wish to check it out online, go to ReeseOnTheRadio.com so you can see it. But you can find this anywhere, because I know it was in the Connecticut Post. And it's a picture of Josh Elliott applauding the results at the convention when he reached 25% that forced a primary. But the signs that were behind him are incredible. It says there aren't signs with white letters that says tax the 1%. But there was one sign that they had back there that you should really pay attention to. And behind him on that sign, right to in front of his face a little bit, but behind him, it says, hold energy execs accountable. But not in the way that you would think. Josh Elliott wants to tax those energy execs because the amount of money they have made. And Ned Lamont put out a press release talking about that. But I want to do something a little self-gratifying, if I could. Okay? So, go on ReeseOnTheRadio.com, or you could go to Facebook, you could go to X, you could go to any one of my pages. And I want you to like and share the song that we are trying to get everywhere. And our folks, Eddie Ortiz from Streets of Hartford, as well as Mike Ortiz, Eddie Torres of Streets from Hartford, and Mike Ortiz, who is a reporter here, street journalist both, who are going to spread the word on this song. I want this song everywhere. I want Ryan Fazio singing it. I want John Bolton singing it. I want everybody singing it. When we come back from this break, before we get to the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center, I'm going to play the song for you because you may have forgotten it. But we edited this song. We threw a little edit in. We threw a little Lamont in the song. And it is now available You can go to ReeseOnTheRadio.com, go to the music section, scroll all the way down. Song's called Vote 'Em Out. Or you could go to Facebook, Facebook or X, formerly Twitter, and you could find it there and you can share it. Share this song with everybody you know. I want this song. I want it booming in everybody's car. I want Lamont to hear this in his sleep. The song is called Vote 'Em Out. We'll play it when we come back, so stand by for that. Plus, we'll talk about this Eversource issue. We've also got a guest today, Brian Foley, Tolland. I said Tolland. I almost got caught. Tolland town manager is going to be here on the program. He'll be sitting right across from me in this desk to talk about what happened in Tolland the other day with the cockfighting ring, the information that he has been able to gather from that. We have some new information on that. I'll ask him about that. We'll talk about everything else from Republicans. He's also a contributor on, well, not, I don't want to say like a contributor, but he is featured on Newsmax and the Fox News channel. And we'll talk to him about all of that and much, much more. So stand by for that when we return. Okay, when we come back, we'll have the song, Vote 'Em Out. You guys may remember, I played it like 4 months ago, but we've re-edited it. And I think you're going to like it, and you should share it. So stand by. We'll have that in a little bit when we return. It's Reese on the Radio.
It's Reese on the Radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Of course I screwed up and forgot that I was going to be back on the air. But anyway, our guest has arrived, and I got caught up talking to him. So this is the song that I want you to share. Now, why do I want you to share? There are some people out there who are of the older persuasion. There are some people out there who are not so much into the hippity hop. I get it. But this isn't about that. This is about the message that is in this song. And we want people to hear it. We want them chanting, vote 'em out, vote 'em out, vote 'em out. I want them to sing this refrain every day because I promise you it's catchy. And it's fun to dance to. And once it catches on and the swell becomes something that people have to literally walk through, there will be no stopping the movement. So trust me when I tell you, you want to share this with everybody you know. Backed by popular demand, the remix of Vote 'Em Out from Reese on the Radio Records and Tapes.
How would you put your campaign into a slogan? We're just getting started.
Yeah. Hands up. If you fed up, say fed up, fed up, fed up. Tax bill thick as a phone book. Road still look like a war took. Every town got a closed up storefront, but they brag on the chart like we all good. Giving sweet talk, not solutions. Same crew, same confusion. We see yachts, we see budget cuts. You see growth, we see illusions. Grandma choose meds or the heat on. Kid rides 3 buses just to be gone. Classroom packed, teacher burnt out. Governor act like it's all fine. Move on. Every year, same speech, same promise. Checks to the top, still jobless. You said progress, we saw profit. Whole state tired of that nonsense. Vote 'em out. Say it loud. Connecticut, we done with 'em now. We showed up, got sold out. It's November, time to throw him out. Vote 'em out. Say it loud. From the cities to the small town crowd. We showed up, got sold out. It's November, time to throw him out. He talk business, we talk rent, dude. He count millions, we count cents, dude. You see green, we see concrete. Closed parks, cut trees on our street, too. Cronies get deals in the back room. We get bills in the mailroom. You smile wide on the talk shows. You stuck in the same little bad news. Look at the trains, always delayed. Look at the schools under the pay. We ain't just mad, we engaged. We at the polls this today. This for the nurses on double shifts. This for the parents who can't afford gifts. This for the students with 10 side gigs. This for the state that you said you lived. Vote 'em out. Say it loud. Connecticut, we done with 'em now. We showed up, got sold out. It's November, time to throw him out. Vote 'em out. Say it loud. From the shoreline up to the clouds. We showed up, got yes, we through. Who got the voice? We do. Who make the choice? We do. Ballot is power we use. This ain't his seat, it's ours to move. Vote 'em out, say it loud, Connecticut, we done with 'em now. We showed up, got sold out. It's November, time to throw him out. Vote 'em out, say it loud. Every district, every block, every crowd. We showed up, got sold out. It's November, time to throw him out.
We're just getting started. We're just getting started.
He says he's just getting started. He says we're just getting started. We say it should never start again. We'll be back. Our guest is Mr. Brian Foley, Tolland Town Manager. When we return, let's get into our first check of weather and traffic. Mark Christopher is here. He is in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. How we doing, sir?
It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
All right, we are back. Reese on the radio live, and as promised, the man sitting across from me and is on your screen. I mean, I do have to say this. I'm absolutely secure in my own sexuality. You're a damn good-looking dude here.
Same to you,
Brian Foley is here.
Thank you very much.
Brian Foley, the Tolland Town Manager, is here on the program. Thank you again for being a part of it. But you've done this all the way. You've done the whole TV bit. That's why they put you on TV.
Here and there, yes. I've been very lucky.
Don't look down. You're all shy. So Brian is here because, of course, his town made headlines, not nationally, but at least pretty much statewide.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I know you don't like stories like this, especially when you have to come in and talk about it. But you were very willing to come on.
Yep.
This was kind of happening right behind the scenes. Like, people were walking past this area, would never even thought of it, cockfighting to the tune of, how many birds? 300 birds?
200 and change.
Yeah.
239, I think it was, and 100 people, unfortunately.
And there was an active sort of fighting ring going on, or people were at this location right at the time?
Yes. You know, what we've seen over the last, coming from Hartford in, over 24 years, you'd see it every once in a while in the city.
Yeah.
And it was in basements, and it always attracted a lot of attention. But the sounds of roosters in the city attracts attention.
Sure.
And these large events would attract attention, and the police are always close by in a city. So over the last 10 years, across the country, you've seen these move to the suburbs. And always along major highways, and where we have 84 coming right through us. Unfortunately, this one ended up in our town, but again, it's all across the country moving to the suburbs. And it was in a very secluded area behind a pond on a dirt road that goes back from behind the pond. So, the neighbors would see cars every once in a while, but really no one had any idea. There was never any problems, extending from the events that they had. I'm very thankful for the Department of Agriculture and the state police for the resources that they put into this and the investigation, which was extensive. And it is, they have to kill off 239 birds is disgusting and unfortunate.
There's some pushback on the killing of the birds because, and I'm sure you're aware of that, is that they believe that is inhumane and unnecessary. Well,
the problem is that, and I remember this from the Hartford days, is they would, to rehome these birds, you need 239 separate homes.
Right.
Because they will fight anything and anyone immediately, and that's a difficult proposition for anyone to take on the birds like this.
Yeah, their natural habitat is now to fight, if not kill.
Correct, and there's no turning back from that, and so you'd have to have just one, and maybe there are people that would be willing to do it, but it'd be quite a proposition for the Department of Agriculture anywhere, and that's how it's done everywhere. Right. It's how it was done in Hartford back when we would experience them there, unfortunately, and it's quite a lift for the animal control officers, and they don't like it. They're it's tough on them to have to do that stuff. Believe me.
What I find interesting about this story, in my view, is you said that you used to see this in Hartford. This has now moved out to the suburbs.
Yep.
I would assume that the reason it moves to the suburbs is because this is more secluded, small town, kind of not a lot of heavy traffic.
Flies under the radar. Yep.
Flies under the radar. But the arrogance of this, and I'll tell you what I mean by that, the scope of this, if you really look at this investigation or where we are with the arrest that took place. So it may start off in the suburbs as a small operation, maybe 20 people who are back there, betting and, participating in this. But then it becomes this thing that nobody says anything about, and then they start inviting more and more people. It grows, it grows, it grows. And then it becomes so big that then people in the town start to notice. That's the kind of beauty about living in a suburb, how positive that can be. Because, again, in a suburb, you know your town, you know your neighbors. Usually you do. So with this amount of traffic, this uptick in traffic that was coming to this area, this is kind of what alerted them. If do you know anything about that, or
they actually got a tip,
okay,
and there weren't any problems because it's on a secluded road as well. In Tolland is an incredibly safe town. I mean, crime is just almost non-existent there, and the state police do a great job. But it was a tip that led them off to that, and they started their investigation from there. I would say back since at least March. Working on getting the information.
So it was a very short time that they, because usually these investigations can go as long as 6 to 8 months.
Yep, it was quite an operation. They sold food there and quite an operation there. So I know that they used surveillance.
I'm sorry, you said they sold food?
Yeah, they had. I spoke to the reporter Christine Dempsey, who's been covering it with the Journal Enquirer out there, or is it Hearst, I believe, and she was telling me she was at the court for the arrests, and they actually had the hot dog roller machine, $25 a plate.
What?
Yeah, they had quite an operation set up there. So they were from, and these are people from, name the cities in Connecticut, all of them, Springfield, New York, Providence, all over the place that came for this large event. So the state police just hit it perfect. The Connecticut State's Attorney, they actually set up like a little booking facility right on the road there, so they could process, book, and release people right there on the spot.
There were a release of individuals.
Yes.
What do you know what the charges are when they get?
Yeah, so it's that 53A247 animal cruelty charge, and what's odd is with this charge is your mere presence at one of these events is enough to have you get arrested. So your presence there is you're going to get arrested for that charge. It's one of the animal cruelty ones, a lower stepped one, but still a felony at any rate.
Oh, they're all felonies.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I was literally being released immediately there. Now, pending no one has any outstanding warrants, I would presume.
They would have ran everybody, correct. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
Now you said you've experienced this before.
Correct.
How random or how often are we talking about rings like these in the state of Connecticut in your experience?
Very random.
As a former police officer.
Even in Hartford, it was rare. I can think of 2 that I went to there. You knew of a couple more, but it was very random. They flew under the radar, in basements, that sort of thing. Even this was in the basement of the place where it was out there in Tolland. And now that they've all scattered to the suburbs, it becomes harder and harder to detect. And thankfully, this was busted up. Not indicative of our town. Our town is so safe. Great schools and a great place, so I'm glad they took care of it.
The 2 individuals who they say are the ringleaders are husband and wife, if I presume?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and the husband and wife, they have all these people that are there. I'm assuming they're going to have a slew of charges that I can imagine. They were not released, I would also suspect, right?
I'm unsure exactly.
Okay.
I didn't dig too much into that.
Because they're running a gambling ring, which would, again, there's so much involved in that. There's RICO. There's a whole slew
a
of
gambling
things.
charge
Right.
on a lot of the people as well.
Right. Okay.
I would assume that they have a lot more charges than just the average person that was there just to throw a couple bucks down
Gotcha.
on a bird.
I have to ask, this is a delicate one. This is 100 people who were arrested. We have at least some established reports that say that there were a couple of illegals there. Somebody said to me, in fact, one of the reports came back and said to me, there were some Puerto Ricans and some Dominicans. And I go, Puerto Ricans are American,
Yep.
but Dominicans are not.
Correct.
And there are a lot of illegals in that. I don't want you to get ahead of yourself. I know that you're the town manager, but do we know that, and should we know that?
Let me put on my police hat here.
Okay, there you go.
My retired deputy chief hat there. So it was in Hartford. It was largely Puerto Rican,
Really?
largely entirely Puerto Rican. But we're going back, 20 years now.
Okay.
For this, you started, it was going both ways. ICE better not be in our town, and then it was ICE better be there, MS-13, on the social media pages. So everyone was going both ways. What I do know is it is largely Puerto Rican, but certainly all your Latin American countries certainly have some sort of tradition with this type of thing where it's accepted there.
Right.
But it's not here. And I was assured by the state police, they went out of their way to make it clear that ICE was not at that operation. There was no MS-13 connections either. Whether good, bad, or indifferent, what your opinion is towards that, that's what it was.
How do you balance that as a town? Because although the state may have an issue where they say they don't want ICE here, however, there are residents in Tolland who do.
Yep.
How do you balance that?
Well, we're policed by the Connecticut State Police, and we fall under their rules. And again, we're such an incredibly safe town.
Right.
It's not making a footprint in our town one way or the other. It's just so safe. So people have their opinions. They're welcome to have them.
With all due respect, I understand that this...
And we are like a 50-50, that close town, both Republican and Democrat.
Yeah, by the way, I don't think this is a Republican or a Democrat thing. I think this is if people are in the... Because I can understand while somebody could be a Republican and know somebody who's a neighbor who might be illegal, but they're probably the nicest person in the world, and you can sort of have a mixed... Just because you're a Republican doesn't mean you want ICE to come beating down their door. I get that. Yep. But my question is is it just opinion? Because I kind of feel like some people have... I don't think this conversation as far as operations like this that don't give people pause to say, hey, what's going on in our own backyard? You said it yourself. These things have moved from the cities into the suburbs. These things do create concern. So how do you balance that, if at all?
We have gotten emails over the last 2 years regarding how the town would handle any sort of ICE operations, negative and positive, depending on where you're sitting.
Right.
And so it really, beyond those types of curiosity emails, what will we do? It just doesn't affect us. We have the state police. They do a fantastic job. They keep our town incredibly safe, and we're happy to have that. So it's just, again, delicate situation. Thankfully, we haven't had to cross that bridge. Hopefully, we don't.
Yeah, I know. I just, again, for me, it's a question of the folks who serve that public, and there's clearly, as you said, like sort of a 50-50, sort of balance there. Some people who are saying they don't want ICE in the town. Others who are saying, look, we want to keep people as safe as possible. We do want them in town, which makes it difficult. No, I get it. I see the look on your face. It makes it difficult. And this is the way that I see it, as everybody else does. And I think rationally people look at it this way. I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say your town was overwhelmingly pro-ICE, and there was a small, let's say 25% of people who were anti-ICE, right? If we had looked at it and said that there's only 25% of the people here and we're not going to listen to them, or their ideas or their point of view is illegitimate, and so therefore we won't count it, people would call that dismissive. What I'm saying is that in a 50-50 town, how do you balance the whole dealing with both making sure that the people who do want ICE there, and even though they're not, how do you make sure they're secure to them? Because that's what you want them to do, is to be on your side on the reason why you don't have ICE in the town. So you want to treat them with legitimate concern.
Well, we're lucky in that, again, we wouldn't call ICE into the town. Connecticut State Police.
Understood.
Would. So we have, in fact, when we would get questions on ICE, we refer them right to the Connecticut State Police and let them answer how they would handle it. There hasn't been a big crime footprint or any sort of immigration footprint in our town to be concerned.
Yeah, I don't think that this town in any way has been smeared by this. Because again, look, I don't think Tolland should have to hold some sort of responsibility for someone doing things nefariously in the town. That is the sole responsibility of the people who did it. This is not indicative of the town. Everybody knows that the town is beautiful and it's safe. But that's, again, you know what I always say? It's sort of like, you're old enough to know this because you're a former police officer. Are you familiar with the name Eitan Potts?
Yeah, how do I know that name?
Eitan Potts was the first, believe the first kid on a milk carton. If not, he was one of the kids that was abducted back in the 1970s. walking to a school on Broadway and Prince Street.
Yep.
Right? Before that one incident, parents let their kids walk to the bus stop. All it took was that kidnapping, and it changed the entire scope of our world.
We had that in Tolland in 1973. A girl was kidnapped, never recovered. Young girl, Janice Pocket, and that changed everything in the town.
Yeah, exactly. So, Aton was, again, that was, after that, there was this sort of collective sort of running to grab our kids and make sure they weren't out of our sight because of that one story. So that's, you know what I mean? How stories like this can get so much media attention, everybody's looking over their shoulder. Did I hear a hen? Did I hear a rooster?
Oh,
you know what I mean? It's just like it creates that.
That's not unusual in our town, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's, you know what I mean? It just creates that sort of air.
Yep. And
you ask yourself, how do you balance that? How do you make people or set people's mind at ease that it's, don't worry about that. That's okay. That's the only point I'm making here.
We have a town council that really makes a lot of the decisions, and it's always a consensus decision. And they do a great job in balancing things out. But again, we communicate with the state police all the time, and everything we've asked from them, they've given us. So and they keep our town with our resident troopers. We have a troop right in town as well. Troop C in Tolland. So we're very fortunate to have that in town, and as well as the resident troopers to make sure that everything is safe.
We'll be back. The town manager of Tolland is here, Brian Foley. He's also known as, I wouldn't call you a contributor, but I guess you are, Newsmax and for Fox News. When we get back, I want to talk about some of the national stories that you have been discussing on there. One in particular, teen violence on the uptick in a lot of major cities. We almost had an ordeal here in West Hartford. So we're going to talk to you about that a little bit as well. And anything else you want to tell us about your beautiful town that is safe, that doesn't need ice.
Farmers market on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock. Yep.
We'll talk to him some more when we return. Stand by for that. Mark Christopher's back. He's at the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center.
Stay locked in. Reese on the radio is on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Hey, we're back. Reese on the radio right here on WTIC News Talk 1080. We are still here with Brian Foley, the town manager of Tolland. We'll continue to talk to him about some national issues that he talks about on Fox News. Of course, the big story that's been coming on is a lot of these wild teenagers or who are sort of teen takeovers. If you saw that video, you know what I'm talking about, that happened at a Chick-fil-A where they were throwing baby chairs at each other. And I got to tell you this, if I may, give me a minute or two here to just make this clear. So I'm watching that video sitting at home, and Roseanne is over my shoulder because I'm looking at it on my phone, and she says, let me see. She's looking at it, and they're showing the kids scrapping on the ground, and they show the kids picking up a baby chair or a child seat and throwing it at the other. But after that, I saw the kids punching each other while one kid was on the ground. But anyway, the kid gets up, and he appears unfazed. Now, when you guys were watching that video, you were probably going, damn, look at those animals. And appropriately so, you said that. No, don't get me wrong. You should have called them animals because that's how they behaved, and I applaud you for thinking it. Animals, all of them. But here's what I noticed, and I know guys in my crew would have noticed this. Those kids couldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. They had the weakest punches I've ever seen in my life. One guy was punching a kid in the ribs, and I think he hurt his own hand. I think that kid, every one of those kids would break a finger if they punched a water balloon. That's how bad those kids were. So, yes, they are violent. Yes, they, make a mess of things, but they are the biggest lightweights. Every one of them was skinny as a rail. Did you notice that? Every one of them was like malnourished. It's like they were only eating Takis and fruit punch. That's what they live on. And that's the reason why none of their punches landed or hurt anybody. And parents, you should be ashamed of yourself. Feed your children at least some protein so they can grow up to be big and strong and not a bunch of beta males who look like they can't throw a punch. It's embarrassing. As a black man, my feelings are hurt. Work on it right now. Let's get another check of traffic and weather. Oh, no, not yet? Okay. All right, we're almost there. We should be coming up with weather and traffic in a second, and then we'll return with Brian Foley, the town manager of Tolland. And I promise we're going to move on from the cockfighting thing. We don't have to do that all day. It's just it's a short story, you know? Birds were fighting, people were arrested, story over. Unless, of course, you have some dirt for us. Let me know. I know you say sick and dead. No, we don't have any dirt. But we'll talk about a couple of those stories when we return, so stand by for that. Oh, by the way, George says, I live in Tolland. Last year it was prostitution. No, it was it? Oh, no, it was one case. It was just one case. I remember that story. Let's get a check of weather and traffic. Mark Christopher's back. He's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center.
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
All right, we're back. Reese on the radio. Brian Foley is here, town manager for the city of Tolland. Is it a city or a neighborhood? We call it a city, I guess,
just a town. Yep.
Just a town of Tolland.
Yep.
Because I don't even know why people use the term city in so many places, but I'm like, you guys don't have a skyscraper anywhere.
No. In fact, we have the zoning laws. You can't go over two stories. So.
2 stories.
Yes.
And isn't that wild? You guys, with this new law that you're going to have to bring in apartment buildings, will that then subject you to sort of breaking that rule in the town?
Where it's an odd town in that the topography, parts of the town are over 900 feet. It is all rock, and we don't have the water or sewer lines to, facilitate that type of housing. I wish we did, to be honest.
But that means that in essence you won't be affected by this law.
We don't expect to be affected by that. We do a pretty good job of getting affordable housing. We need affordable housing. You look at some of the older folks in our town. That are living in their homes for the last 60 years. They can't take care of them anymore. Mm-hmm. They're worth a ton of money, but they have nowhere to go. Where are they going to go that they can afford it? And that is the problem.
Why don't we do senior centers here? I mean, we have
a senior center, but you mean like senior housing?
Yeah, we should have
We have some. No town has enough to have.
Well, okay, because one of the things that I noticed, and I don't know if you read this report. You're very involved in news media, but I just read this maybe earlier this week that every day 7 people turn 75, some story like that, right? So this is a very aging city.
Yep.
And there are a lot of senior citizens who own their homes who cannot offload it because, in essence, one, they have to stay in their home. Many want to stay in their home.
Yep.
They don't have reasonable housing or homes that they can go to.
Or the energy to move.
That's true.
And they're kind of stuck in there, and it becomes a problem.
Which is why I need to open up my moving company here.
Yes.
But we should be able to utilize, my wife had a fight with Mayor Arunin and Matt Lesser, which was on CTN the other day, talking about the money that they could be spending on housing right in the city in these empty apartment buildings.
Yep.
A good start would be, imagine opening senior centers for those very people who need a place to move out of.
Yes, this senior housing is a huge problem. We're doing our best to put more in our town. We have some, but even that, because there's such a shortage, it's expensive. You can't imagine how expensive it is to move into a tiny senior home.
Did you hear this? I had a guy on the show. In fact, I'm going to check here just so I make sure what day it was. So his name is David Haberfeld, and he was on a program a couple of weeks back, and he is a property owner. Small, but he owns I want to say a little more than 50 homes. I think it's almost 100, in fact.
Wow.
But what he did when the laws started changing, when you couldn't evict people out of their home because Governor Lamont had placed that order in, what he started to do was turning all of his rental properties into Airbnbs. And those started making money. So there's part of that that's creating this problem with, because nobody wants to rent to a person who's going, end up there in perpetuity.
Well, what happens in those cases, once it becomes a problem in the town, now they start creating ordinances around, how long you can have an Airbnb and how long you can,
that'll be the case, right?
Advertise it and such. But yes, that is you see that a lot, especially down the shore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a crazy thing going on. Anyway, so you're on Newsmax and Fox a lot. They call you in because, of course, you're a former police officer.
Yep.
And they call you in on all types of national topics. Is it usually policing that they bring you in on?
Always law enforcement related, almost always murder and homicide.
Wow.
And then sometimes some topical law enforcement stuff, like they called last night to be in this morning. Thankfully, I didn't have to go in. Mm-hmm. But that was on the rise of juvenile crime. But always, every major homicide case that you see on the news, everything over the last 5 years or so, they've had me in to talk about it.
So we almost had a situation at the West Farms Mall.
Yep.
With a teen takeover. Correct. That they were alleging.
Yes.
By the way, Mark in West Hartford, who's covered a lot of that in the past couple of weeks, said something interesting, is that it's usually not teens. It's people in like 20, 21 years old, young adults, if you will, that are involved in some of the shoplifting, the violence. Of course, we're seeing shootings and things like that. But this recent one was thwarted, I guess, because of all of the police presence and all of the chatter online.
Intelligence gathering. Now, I talked to both police chiefs a lot, Vern Riddick in West Hartford and Paul Melanson in Farmington. What makes West Farms unique is that 2 police departments actually cover it, so you have twice the resources. And then you had the state police involved in CTIC, which is the intelligence, and they had that so covered between the license plate readers, of extra video surveillance, 2 towns worth of police departments, and then the mall itself doubling down on security there. That would have been the worst place to have a takeover on that day, and it's all because of good planning and good intelligence gathering.
The intelligence gathering had to be some of the dumbest intelligence gathering to have, because the kids were online chatting about it. Because, again, kids can't stop being on social media.
We
to
prefer
talk
them
about it.
as cops.
We
prefer them to make it easy on us.
Right. Well, we call it self-indictment online, because these bozos have to share everything on their computers.
If you'd like some attention, we'll give it to you.
Right.
Yes.
Right. What? Because, and I don't even know what the counter was here, but what did the police do to get the kids to realize that maybe they shouldn't do this? Was it the news reports?
Yes, just being out there all over the place saying exactly what would happen. Reaching out or messaging to parents, hey, keep your kids at home. You don't want to come here. And that's where that's the case where you can use the media to your advantage to, stop this type of thing. And both those police chiefs are very adept at doing exactly that.
Yeah, I thought that was good that they told these kids. That's the part that I don't seem to understand. And again, you don't have to co-sign this, but this is the part that I don't understand. Because we're supposed to believe that these kids, usually black kids, some, Hispanic kids, are supposed to be fearful of putting themselves in positions where they might get shot by cops. Why would they ever encourage themselves to be involved in menacing and, loitering and poor behavior in a situation that will definitely bring the cops to it?
Well, it's the age of social media. I think everyone wants to have that viral moment. Everyone wants to create that video and be out there, and I think that's what drives most people. That's the strength of social media right now, unfortunately.
I just hope that these kids figure it out that at least it didn't happen, so I'm hoping that they don't plan on doing this thing. I was like, we didn't get it done. We're going to try it again. I wish these kids would figure it out. Just figure it out that they don't need to do stupid things like this. What are some of the other things that you? By the way, were you called in to cover the whole Nancy Guthrie thing?
Of course, yes, a lot. That was probably the most that I was on in studio down there was for the Nancy Guthrie stuff. And looking at that case, most homicide detectives that watched it, they knew. And I hate to say this, and I hope I'm wrong, but your suspicion as a cop was she was likely deceased prior to leaving the home.
You believe so?
I do, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. And my guess is secreted somewhere out there in the desert somewhere, and I hope they can find it somewhere. But it's just an awful case. My guess has always been this was not a ransom situation by any stretch of the imagination. That was a false flag, and that it would be somebody that is known to her that would do this. Reasons unknown. Money is always the greatest reason.
Money is always the first one.
Yep. So the police chief, the sheriff down there, with these types of cases, the sooner, and you saw it here in Doulos, they brought the state police in pretty quick, although they did do a good job down there. But the sooner you bring in that large homicide agency, that agency that has homicide experience, sooner you bring them into the fold, the better.
Right.
And they really kind of dragged their feet and bring in the FBI. They sent it the evidence to a lab in Florida. It got kind of confounding. And people got out in front of their skis down there. I believe the sheriff got out, a little bit in over his head. And I don't think it was handled as well as it could have been, but that's, Monday morning quarterback.
I'm going to throw a scenario at you the way that I looked at this, and you tell me because, again, you're career law enforcement, so you would know. This was Savannah Guthrie's mom, and this can bring attention to a police department and a police chief in a notoriety way, right? In other words, you can become famous. Do you believe he got ahead of his skis or out ahead of his skis because this gave an opportunity for him to be known or popular in some way? He could drive the news cycle as the police officer or the sheriff in this case that solved it?
Given my hobby of being in the media, I'm the last person to cast that.
Come on,
but
you can do it.
I believe that is a part of the case, because you saw him, real homicide detectives, when they're working, when they're active detectives in a police department, you never see or hear from them.
Indeed.
And they don't want to know, and they'll only talk to the media when they absolutely have to and need their help.
Usually they're forced to.
Yep. And you leave that to and like even with me, my boss was the best homicide, Chief Ravella, he's there now, the best homicide detective I knew. He put me out there. He didn't want to be out there.
He's still like that.
Yep. And
I've been trying to get that guy on the show too.
No, that won't happen.
I know. I've given up. I've given up.
So the real homicide detectives and the real investigators out there, when they're working, when they're active, sworn officers, they don't want to be out there on the TV.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting, and I know what it is. It's so crazy, but I get you. You're retired. If you had been a police officer who was always on the camera, that would be something else.
Probably a little of that too, but go ahead, go on.
But no, there is a degree of I always I feel like I'm disparaging the guy, but I want to be as honest as I can. Television has an opportunity to be a resume builder for a lot of folks, for their next career. There you go. It's always the next career.
Yep, notoriety for the next job.
Yeah, and that's the part that I'm always concerned with, because when you start knowing the police officer as well as you know the victim or the person who's missing.
What's your goal?
Yeah, then I go.
Is your goal solving the crime?
Yeah.
Or is your goal self-promotion?
Yeah.
You kind of worry about that. And you want to be building confidence in your department and your investigators, and that's it, and seeking the public's help beyond that.
But I'll tell you, what was his undoing in all of this? I believe that the appetite of the viewer really was his undoing. Why? Because America has gotten used to the CSI, Miami, NCIS solving of crimes within an hour.
Yep.
I love where what's the name? Goodness gracious, Howard Beale talked about it in the movie Network. Kojak always gets his guy within an hour.
Yep.
And we have become this immediate sort of gratification. And when this kept dragging on for weeks and months, and this guy's on TV, after a while it becomes, dude, you're no good at your job because you're not solving the crime, and that's what you're here for.
Everyone's going to turn on you at some point.
Yeah, and it totally happened like that.
That happened.
Was that what your conversation turned into when you were on Fox or Newsmax?
Well, I can tell you, I started to turn down interviews on that because it started just to be too much. It was just too much. You could see the case going cold.
Yeah.
And what are we going to go talk about? The same darn things, the same time. While it's fresh and while it's happening, sure. You want to build confidence in the investigators, but man, it just started to it was just too much, and you start to feel for the families. And it almost
becomes sad where it's like, I don't want to be on here talking about this.
And then how do you back out of it? As the media, how do you back out? You got everything there. You got all your resources on scene down there, and then, wow, they're not making an arrest. Now what do we do?
Yeah, exactly.
It's awkward.
They had to. I was so glad when they walked away from it, because it was like, look, nobody wants to see this story 2 months in and you haven't solved it. Because the incompetence starts to reek then, or at least the view of incompetence.
You'll start to see it at the 1 year anniversary, a year later, where are we? And nowhere, and we'll see where the sheriff is then. That's a tough story.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's got no credibility to build back because he still hasn't solved it.
It's tough, that again, not bringing the big, and you look at that county, it's a massive county, like the size of 2 Connecticut's.
Wow.
And they have about 14 homicides a year. That's not a lot of homicides for that big of a department. That's not a lot of experienced homicide detectives.
Indeed.
And so you needed to bring in that state and federal thing right away, and it's nothing wrong with that, because then you don't get blamed.
Yeah,
you brought them in right away.
I argue, so one of the things I argue about the politicians here in Connecticut is like they want so much. We're a small northeastern town, right? You want to be recognized nationally so bad. You have a tendency to start saying things and doing things that usually are a little unethical in order to do it. And I tell people, like, watch your step, because that's going to blow up in your face. immediately.
There's been times like when I'm down at Fox and I walk out after the interview, I'm like, oh boy, did I say, I hope I didn't upset somebody. And
yeah.
At that level, you're looking at millions of people.
That's right.
It's a lot.
You bring some attention to yourself you don't want.
You want attention, you'll get it. Right.
Indeed. Brian Foley, the town manager of Tolland, is here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having
me. I hope I didn't beat you over the head too much about the cockfighting.
You're great.
Tolland's still a great town. I told everybody it still is.
I got a lot of jokes on that cockfighting when it was happening.
I bet you did.
You can't imagine.
Let's get another check of traffic and weather. Mark Christopher's here. He's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Hey, bud.
From politics to news to music to movies and anything above the sun and outer space and beyond, it's Reese on the radio. Damn, he's good. Only on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
All right, we're back. Reese on the radio here. I'll get to the phone calls in a second, but I wanted to read this because you might remember we talked a few months back that the Democrat National Committee had an autopsy that it wrote for the 2024 election, which in essence is to explain why they lost. And the head of the DNC, Ken Miller, I think his name is, refused. They wrote the report. They weren't going to refuse it. But they got beaten and browbeaten to finally release it. And what it revealed explains why they didn't. And it says a lot about a lot of things. I'm going to read a couple of them if you haven't heard what was in this autopsy, sort of break it down for you. But there is something to gather from this. I know a lot of people are going to look at it and just like, see, told you not. No. There's something else that you're missing that's important that we must recognize. So here we are. The report flat out admits that the Trump campaign's famous Kamala is for they, them, President Trump is for you. That ad was devastating. Their own pollsters, their own people said it was highly effective. And here's the kicker. Because Harris refused to walk back her positions on transgender issues, the report says, and I quote, there was nothing which would have worked as a response. Nothing. Even the Democrats' own data told them that the gender ideology stuff was killing them with regular voters, especially working class men and parents. And they had zero comeback, and that's a messaging failure. That's a values disconnect the size of the Grand Canyon. Second, the Biden White House basically ghosted Kamala Harris for 3.5 years during their administration. You know that. I know that. We all saw the reporting. Serious polling and research said that they liked Jill Biden and they did not have any for Kamala. In other words, there was more polling data on President Biden's wife than there was on his own vice president. They never pushed back hard on the border czar that Republicans were pinning on her, and the media, by the way, who had also pinned it on her. They did not push back on it. And when it came time to hand her the nomination after Biden's debate, his disastrous debate, she was left swinging for almost no prep, even though she was demanding that she be endorsed by Joe Biden. They had no prep in the works. The report calls it a massive missed opportunity. They called it setting up your own VP to fail while protecting Joe Biden. The rural America problem. This, crazy enough, was a huge issue. The campaign wrote off huge swaths of the country, North Carolina, the Midwest, the South, assuming that the suburban college-educated margins would save them. The report admits that the gaps became insurmountable. Translation, they thought flyover country didn't matter. And this is nothing more than classic coastal arrogance. More on that later. The spending. Democrats had massive cash. They had over $1.5 billion on the presidential race alone, but yet they got crushed. Why? Because they relied on Trump is bad negativity instead of giving voters a positive reason to show up. No real plan on affordability, no credible border message, just vibes and identity politics. They really thought that Donald Trump was so bad because of, remember the 2020 election, 81 million votes? They believed that hype. The report criticizes identity politics as a crutch. The party needs to focus on kitchen table issues. That is progress. But also, rich coming from the same crowd that spent years pushing the exact policies that made those kitchen tables unaffordable. And get this. The earlier leaks showed their own internal data found that Biden's Gaza policy was a net negative and that cost Harris votes, especially with younger and progressive voters. But in this released version, almost completely silent on Israel, on Biden's decision to run again in the first place, on the backroom deal that installed Harris without a primary, and on skipping Joe Rogan. They hid that reports for months and then released a version full of factual errors, wrong vote percentages, misspelled names, and they had the nerve to say it doesn't meet our standards. But what does this really mean? Should they be embarrassed? Should they recalibrate? You know they won't. Are they still pushing the gender ideology stuff and the race stuff? Yeah. Listen to Ned Lamont today. He's still running against Donald Trump. He's not running against Donald Trump, but he'll tell you that he is. He's telling you that he's going to protect you from Donald Trump. He believes that that is going to win. This autopsy is not going to help. It's not going to help him. His folks are now reading this and they're going, oh, crap, that may not work. That's right. It may not work. Now, I told you there was something to glean from this. And here it is. And it's not for Republicans. It's for Democrats. Now, I know folks on the left listen to the show. I know you. Democrats, leftists, progressives. I know you listen. And God bless you. Thank you so much. You are free. You are free now. You no longer have to be saddled, tethered to the ideology of woke politics. Gender ideology, identity. You don't. Here's why. It's killing you. You don't have to adhere to this. You can reject it because guess what? You already do. This says that the reason why people didn't show up for Kamala Harris was because the they-them ad really made sense to people on the left. It didn't galvanize Republicans. It galvanized average folks who felt that they were being ignored by a perceived marginalized few. That there was so much attention given to those folks and their ails that many who did not, even care about those issues were left out. And it was no response by the campaign that says, no, we care about you too. No, because they could not upset that base, that small fraction of a base that was garnering them all the money. Right? Where was all the money coming from? It was supporting of the smallest part of the base. Therefore, And what do you always say about the millionaires and billionaires, people on the left? What do you always say? They don't care about you. That's right. They don't. They gave her $1.5 billion so they could promote people who aren't like you. Everyday Americans who care about what? Your safety? More money in your pocket? Huh? Kids going to good schools? Getting a good education? A bright future? They focused on all of these people that were not you. And when Trump was bringing attention to that, what did they do? They didn't even counter it. They didn't even address you. They're like, hey, we might lose those folks. No. And who did they pay attention to? They pay attention to the big cities because they thought they had it in the numbers. Oh, and by the way, if you're noticing why all of a sudden Kamala Harris and the like are now talking about getting rid of the Electoral College and going back to the popular vote, why? This autopsy tells you why. Because paying attention to the big cities and ignoring flyover country gets you everything that you need. An election win. And the big cities more than likely don't have voter IDs, probably allows fraud. And if they can win that popular vote again, who needs flyover country? And believe it or not, if you live in one of these red states after you've moved out of the blue ones, to come to the red states so that you can have your income tax removed or live in lower taxes or live in a place where the cost of living is lower, your needs aren't going to be met. You're going to be punished for leaving the big cities. So if they do win under the popular vote, they'll find a way to get that money from you somehow. Federal taxes will probably go up. But that's the deal. But Democrats, those of you who live in flyover country, here's the evidence. The DNC knows that they have to get away from identity politics to win. They know now. And now that's the reason why they didn't want it to be public, because in essence it would be giving you permission to say no. It would be giving you permission to tell your elected officials, stop doing that. We're not going to win with it. There would be a groundswell. There will be a pushback on those issues. And you would have to start telling them to care about the things that matter to you. That's why they didn't want to release this. So now you've been given permission. Now that it's released and you know what it said and how you lost, will you change course? I bet you were waiting for this. And if they don't, you can tell them right now, right here in Connecticut, you can tell them in November. You can say, all right, Ned, you want to keep pushing this race thing? You want to keep pushing the illegal stuff? You want to keep talking about ICE? You want to keep talking about Donald Trump? You want to talk about transgenderism? You want to talk about mutilation of children? You know what? I'm going to have to vote the other way. Oh, I'm just not going to show up for you. Josh is reading this report, too. I don't know if he's going to recalibrate. I think he's baked in. I mean, how is he going to get the support of the people that he needs the most? That small group of people with all the money. Oh, you know they do. The LGBTQ community, they got a lot of money. Just ask Barack Obama after he said that gay marriage should be legal. $90 million in an hour. $90 million in an hour. A lot of money in that community. But the rest of you are going to get ignored. I just want to make sure I got this right. Who was it who told us that Lamont's going to win again? Was it you? Who was it that said that? Just forget about it. Lamont's going to win the third term? I couldn't remember exactly who that was. Was it you? Was it you? How about you? Yeah, I don't know who it was. I've forgotten who said it. Well, it's going to be an interesting election. Oh, to be honest with you, I'm just happy that August 11th is happening. That is going to be so much fun. Oh, I just came up with an idea. August 11th. We're going to do something before then. But we should have a watch party. Yeah. We should have a watch party. We should have a primary watch party. I wonder where we could do it. It's probably going to be Stadium 15. We should. Can you imagine that? A cage fight? In one corner, 73-year-old Governor Lamont with sparky upstart Josh Elliott. Oh, yeah, I'm going to get that in the works right now. Let's get another check of traffic and weather. Mark Christopher's here. He is in a BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. I don't know. Do you watch politics like that? Do you watch like the election coverage and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, more so as it gets closer. Yeah, as it gets closer.
Yeah. I mean, do you get excited when the election time comes around? Because I know some people will hate it, but I really love it.
The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed from WTIC News Talk 1080. Download the free Odyssey app, search WTIC News Talk 1080, and tap earlier today to get started.
Hey, by the way, I want to thank our guest today, and She was absolutely great. Maureen, or she's known as Mickey Ulizio, who is the Director of Client Services at Forever in My Heart Foundation. She's was here to talk about the Canines for Connecticut Vets. And the new service dog this year is a dog named Tucker. And if you wish to, we would really appreciate it if you went to WTIC.com/vets. Again, WTIC.com/vets to help us raise the funds for that very, I would say, worthy client who is a Connecticut vet who will receive Tucker. I guess later on this year is when it happens, but there's a whole training process. So we hope that you'll help us do that. Again, go to WTIC.com/vets to contribute. Let's do this. News. Adam Gontier of 3 Days Grace turns 48. Goatee, who sings that song, Somebody I Used to Know. Remember that song was everywhere? He turns 46 today. Havoc of Mobb Deep, the only surviving member of the group Mobb Deep, turns 52. Kevin Shields of My Bloody Valentine turns 63. Leo Sayer, a pop singer, turns 78 years old. And the aforementioned Ron Isley turns 85. Notorious B.I.G., ironically, was also born today, and he's now, of course, deceased. And we were talking about the whole Biggie Smalls and same day. I have the same birthday. Milestones and anniversaries. Back in 2018, Hootie and the Blowfish cracked Rear View, certified 21 million sales of that album, which is, again, one of the, no, I'm not going to say it. It was one of the worst. Goodness, it was one of the worst. 9 Inch Nails in 2005 released With Teeth, debuting at number 1. Dave Grohl was playing drums for that. In 1996, 30 years ago, the Wallflowers released Bringing Down the Horse. Soundgarden released Down on the Upside in 1996 as well. In 1990, 36 years ago, Soul to Souls Volume 2, 1990, A New Decade, which is a very good European group back in the days. Many of you might remember them. In 1971, Marvin Gaye released a landmark concept album, What's Going On, which I know that Mark Christopher and the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center owns and plays often. What's Going On? Classic, I know, right? What's up, everybody? You know who it is.
You know who it is.
You know who it is. It's Reese on the radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
And just so you know, we are going to be doing, during the warmer months, we're going to be doing a lot more of the remotes. They're easier to do now. And so we're going to do a couple. I know we want to do Stadium 15. We also want to get back at between rounds. I think we're going to go to the Vernon. Where were we before? The Vernon location. And I think we want to go to the South Windsor location. I feel like it's got to be Windsor. Got to go to that location soon enough, and I'm hoping to do that. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Mrs. Foley, Brian Foley's mom, who listens to the show. Told me she's a big fan. Thank you so much for that. So we got a whole bunch of things coming up. Tomorrow, George Austin is going to be on the program. He also won his his delegate vote on Friday, I think it was. Yes, Friday. So we got George Austin coming in tomorrow at 4. Then we have an interview with Kim Arsenault, the VP of Training for Forever in My Heart Foundation, as a part of the Canines for Connecticut Vets. She'll be here. I've spoken to her before last year. We'll bring her on again tomorrow. And also our first installation of T.J. Duarte's Future So Bright begins tomorrow as well. So, of course, and Roseanne will be here. So we got a jam-packed Friday for you, which is usually kind of light on the news, unless, of course, stuff breaks. And, other than that, we just cover some of the news stories and everything. So it's still, fun-filled, and you'll still have a great show to talk about. We try to talk about anything and everything. Opening monologue, notwithstanding. Also, I'm going to see, we are working really, really hard on a surprise guest. And the only reason why I want to tell you that is because, I was let down yesterday. We really thought it was going to happen. We were told it was going to happen. We had everything lined up for it to happen, but it didn't. And I was very disappointed because I told all the staff here, everything, my boss, Janine, and all of them, that we were going to have it happen. They were all listening, hoping that it was going to happen, and it didn't. So it was a real letdown, and I feel like I have egg on my face because it didn't happen. But we are working on it. And this surprise guest will blow your mind. So I hope that we get this. I know it won't happen this week, but we're hoping that it happens in the next coming week. So please, like I said before, just pray for the show that we get this to happen, because I think this is going to be a great opportunity for all of us in Connecticut when this happens. So, and we will continue to surprise you with the guests that are going to be on this show in the future. So stand by for that. Let's get to the phones. 860-522-WTIC. Jeff is in Marlboro. Hello, sir.
Hey there. How you doing, Reese?
Pretty good, sir.
Yeah, so quick question. This whole cockfighting thing up in Tolland, well, it's not really a question, just comment. Like, we've talked on this show about assimilation before, and part of assimilating is, doing things, the American way. But
yeah.
I think part of it is also not doing things, If you want to see a good old cockfight, you might have to go to Puerto Rico or Mexico. It's not really accepted here. It
is interesting that you say this, because you're right that it isn't really accepted here. But I would go so far to imagine that there are more people today than ever before in your or my lifetime. There are more people today who would look the other way at that and sort of say, they would almost excuse it. You know what I mean? That saying, it's like, well, those are the things that they do at home, and they want sort of something that resembles the things that they recognize in their own hometown, their own home country, to make them feel comfortable.
I think they'd feel different if they witnessed it themselves.
Indeed. But remember, this is the non-judgy culture. They only have certain people that they judge, you and I. But those people, they do not judge, because they are, and this is them, not me, they don't see these people as human. They don't. I know they don't. If they saw them as human, they would hold them to the same account. You get my meaning? Like, you have agency. So if you did this, you would be scum of the earth. You should know better. How dare you, abuse animals? These wayward souls, they come from a different culture. They're not regular people.
Well, Michael Vick was a perfectly good American, you know what I mean? And
no. Remember what separated him? Unfortunately, you want to know why he got? And by the way, there was a cultural battle that went on between blacks and whites in that arena. Blacks said you couldn't say anything to Michael Vick about it because he's a black man, and how dare you judge him? Now, unfortunately, white folks who love their dogs and thinks that dogs are better than people. Oh, no, Michael Vick crossed them. They didn't care about the racial overtones about condemning him. They were going to not only have him lose his job, but they were going to excommunicate him off the planet. But, that backlash was insanity, because it was just like, and also, you know what helped him? If he was just an average bum called Michael Vick, they would have said it's wrong, and they would have condemned him. But the way they went after him was because he's a millionaire quarterback.
Yeah, he'd be in prison today.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. And they were easy to forgive him because all he had to do was capitulate.
Yep.
Yeah, so I always thought that was interesting. Even The View, I'll tell you this, but a lot of people know this. Even The View was split on this. Whoopi Goldberg took Michael Vick's side. I'm not kidding you. I covered that story.
That doesn't surprise me, though.
Yeah, but exactly. It was a wild day. But remember, Whoopi Goldberg also said this about Roman Polanski. It wasn't rape.
Yeah, it wasn't rape.
Yeah, it was rape, but it wasn't rape. Remember? Yeah. That's the way people, they reconcile with this. So it's crazy.
It's just a little different.
Exactly. Thank you, boss. I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, I got a quick question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, so I talked to you the other day. I cleared things with my boss. If you want to come down, give me a jingle, all right?
Boom. I'll call you later on this weekend.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, just the whole cockfighting thing. Like, I'm looking forward now to, like, are we going to see underground bullfighting? What's next? I don't know.
Fight Club. Fight Club. It's got to be. It's got to be Fight Club.
Well, at least that would be consensual.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, boss.
All right,
later. Let's go to Steve. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. You know, when Mitt Romney had his dog on top of the roof of his car, Obama liked his on the grill.
That's correct. He sure did. I'll never forget that. He goes, I've had everything under the sun. Dog, crunchy.
There you go. So you actually had to tease the staff to get them to listen. That's a shame, Reese.
Say again. I have to what?
You had to tease the staff to get them to listen to your show. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, isn't that weird? That's what I had to do. I had to tease the show to get them to listen to it. For some odd reason, yesterday, everybody who worked at WTIC was listening to the show. I was like, I guess we don't listen for me anymore.
I got a few more things to cover. How do you feel about heights? Are you okay with heights?
No, I'm afraid of heights. You crazy? I'm a 6'3" person who's afraid of heights.
So you get nosebleeds just from walking around?
No, not nosebleeds, but I always, I'm fearful of anything that is, I can't be above 6 floors.
Okay. The reason I was asking, I met Matt Corey years ago when he was first running.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking, I had his number, I lost it because my phone had died and I didn't save it to the cloud. I was supposed to go with him on the skyscrapers and do some window washing. I was going to say, if I get that set up, I would have you.
You were really going to do skyscraper with him?
Yeah. We were supposed to do it. I actually helped him with his campaign to
outside the window.
What's that?
Outside the building?
That's his business, yeah, or used to be.
Dude, no. Nope. I don't even want to have a conversation about this.
A few more things.
No, real quick, because I got to get out of here.
Kimberly-Clark, if you have a chance, go see them. Wayland Manufacturing, 2 great places to go. I also want to say hail to King Lamont, and I want to say to hail with the rest of the Democrat Party as well.
Thank you, man.
Talk to you later.
You got it. Jeff is in Wallingford. Hello, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
I am great, sir. What's going on?
I was just opened up my electric bill today when you were talking about the Eversource stuff.
Let's go.
My electric bill was $58.68.
How the hell are you going to tell me that you got solar, don't you? You're going to tell me you're solar, aren't you?
No. We have a public municipal electric company in Wallingford.
Oh. Isn't that interesting?
And Eversource is charging car payments for people. And I have an electric fence running 24/7 around our chicken run. All the motion lights are on 24/7. And it was $55 and change last month.
In Wallingford?
Correct.
Okay, everybody in the world is going to ask you, how the hell did you do it?
We just do it like everybody else. We're not in a room, we turn off the light. That's the bill. It just came today.
$58. There's no way. There are people sitting around here with like $1,000 bill.
I know. It's almost a mortgage payment.
Yeah. No kidding.
And we have the electric fence going around our chickens. Everything's, it's... We just turned the lights off and everything else.
Jeff,
last month we had the heater going because it was cool.
Jeff,
I'll take a picture of it. I'll screenshot you the picture to show you I'm not blowing smoke up your butt.
You got to send it to me. This much I got to know. And by the way, I'm going to get in contact with you so you can call me before or earlier in the show so we can get to the bottom of this. Okay?
You got it. ReeseOnTheRadio.com, right?
That's correct, sir.
You got it. I just wanted to let you know that.
I appreciate you, sir. Thank you. All right, last but not least, Christine in Middletown. What's going on?
Hey, Reese. Good afternoon. Where do all these LGBT organizations get all this money from? Because my budget, we had $900 a month electric bills in our house, and when I go to eat at Sam's Club for $4 hot dog, pizza slice, and soda, Reese.
Well, the LGBTQ organizations, all the ones that have the money, are everyone from GLAAD to every one of the other organizations. I don't know where they're getting their money from. But clearly, there's fundraising out the wazoo, and you know, let's be honest. They are some of the most wealthiest people in the world. Yes, Michael, they do.
I'll tell you that. I'm poor, and they don't like the negativity they cause me either.
But don't forget, you're the wrong kind of person in the LGBTQ community because you're a conservative. That is a poor person's job and a poor person's position. You have to be on the left side to be. Now, if you become very liberal, you can expect your finances to go through the roof. Exactly the case. Thank you, Christine. I'll see you guys tomorrow. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your mind. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio. You have a good night and a pleasant tomorrow. We'll get to this Lamont stuff as well tomorrow. Stand by for that. We got a jam-packed show for you on this Friday, so make sure you are here. I would hate it if you missed it. All right, Mark Christopher's here. He is going to get you home because it is time for you to get there. He's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Good night, sir.